Hello, welcome to Dailyish for Wednesday, August 26th. It's currently 12 degrees outside. No wind chill, no humidity, just 12. A straight up 12, as they say. This is not a weather podcast. This episode of Dailyish is brought to you by FeedPress. Feed.press/Dailyish is where you can visit today to sign up and try FeedPress for 14 days. No contracts or commitments. Be sure to use promo code Dailyish during checkout to get 10% off your first year of awesome analytics and podcast hosting for your blog, podcast, or podcast blog. And also brought to you by Clearing My Throat and Patreon supporters like you. Patreon.com/iChris is where you can visit to check out how you could support my podcasting efforts a little more directly. And also, like I mentioned yesterday on the episode 127, how you can check out the Patreon videos for Patreon that I'm doing, the video versions of this show. And more on that on Feedback Follow-Up Friday. I think I got that right. I've been ruminating in my brain about my brother-in-law Chris Hubert's idea of making some T-shirts for Dailyish, probably for Patreon supporters, not specifically for Dailyish, but with This Is Not a Weather Podcast slogan of some sort on there. And my main issue is that I go to like a site to sort of build a T-shirt or whatever, and I suck at the design, especially when it's like something. It's one thing to design a website that somebody's just going to look at and use, but something that somebody's going to wear and will pay money for over the internet and just buy and wear. That's where I'm a little leery, but we'll see. It's something I think would be really fun to do. I have no idea if there's enough people out there who would pay, the $20-$30, whatever it would be, but by the time you design and sell a shirt online to, or if it would be a Patreon supporter thing where I would just do it for a certain level of Patreon support. I don't know. We'll think about it. It's something that's on the, definitely on the project board that you can't actually see behind me, which doesn't exist. I recorded episode 7 of the At YouTube podcast yesterday, and it was neat. I just mentioned because it was a guest there's one guest in, Matt in the States, who's usually on. He's my co-host on the show, but then we have guests from around the world sometimes. In the past, it's always been North America, Canada, US, but this time we actually had guests who were from, one guy was in Istanbul. He's actually from Germany, I think, and then another guy who's from England and Ireland, but is on vacation in the Dominican Republic. So 4 countries, 2 continents, I guess, and actually went off fairly well. And one of the guys was actually on Skype on his cell phone, so not even on a computer. And the other guy was in a hotel with slightly better broadband than your typical hotel Wi-Fi, I think. But anyways, link in the show notes if you want to check that out. It'll be out later today on Wednesday, and it's fun. It's a podcast that's really fun to do. The community that's around that podcast and supporting it, listening to it, and engaging with it, with sending in questions and stuff, and having a little bit of fun with us as we put out the show each week is really, as you might guess, anytime you sort of pick a topic that's a bit of a niche, like nobody's just going to stumble across it and listen to it accidentally. Likely, they might listen to one episode, I guess, but if they're not a U2 fan, probably not going to listen to it ongoing. And it's been fun to discover that some of the meet and hear from some of the U2 fans out there. There's a lot of, on Twitter, for example, there's a lot of U2 fans, and this is probably true of any sort of fandom and sort of niche thing on the internet, but there's a lot of U2 fans who the only reason they've ever signed up for Twitter was to follow along with U2. They don't use Twitter, as best as I can tell. It's like they'll follow me and I'll just sort of check out their tweets or whatever and their profile and stuff, and just curious who the folks are that are listening to the podcast. And it's just all U2. And it's not that they're tweeting a lot necessarily, but that's all they use Twitter for, is to keep up with U2 stuff. And even the podcast is kind of like a unique, different way that they're actually using Twitter now, they can send in questions through the hashtag #AskAtU2. And then we use their questions on the podcast and things like that. And so for a lot of them, it's kind of just a neat introduction to other uses of Twitter and also to the world of podcasting, which hopefully translates into maybe a couple extra listeners for good stuff. But ultimately, the goal is just to have some fun chatting about U2 and that kind of thing. So thanks to Matt for bringing me along to do that with @u2.com. Yesterday's episode was recorded with my other brother-in-law, Paul, and and we then proceeded to rewatch for both of us. It was the second time for both of us, sort of my second and a half time watching Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a great movie, superhero movie. It's a movie that I wouldn't have ever thought I would love as much as I did, based on, what you've probably heard: Talking Tree, Talking Raccoon, space battles, which I'm a big fan of, Star Wars, etc. But I had no idea how much it was going to be, how great the movie was going to be. And just it has all its usual plot holes and sort of weird plot elements that don't make a lot of sense if you think too deeply about it, or mechanics that with weapons and superhero powers and things of different people that have stuff, and why wouldn't you just give that to everybody if you really wanted to win a war of some sort? But anyways, lots of really fun moments. The best moment is sort of halfway through the flick, when they're sort of sitting around trying to figure out what they're going to do and the plan they're going to come up with, and just and shortly before that too, it's just some of the sort of humanity and soul of the movie is revealed in a bit of just the way Rocket Raccoon talks about how he was created and why he was created, and things like that, and then just the way that they sort of go into this final battle together as a team, and yeah, lots of fun. If you haven't seen it, and maybe space battle stuff is probably, if that's not your thing, it's not a movie to really check out. There's a lot of weird names to follow and track who's the bad guy here, and they made it extra confusing with sort of 2 levels of bad guys, or 3 sort of, and for folks who are, if science fiction space battles are not really your thing, then this is probably definitely in that realm. So, but if you're not too scared off by space names and space battles and alien names and stuff, definitely a movie to check out if you haven't already. I'm sure lots of people have, and probably many listeners of the show have already, but definitely worth checking out and just enjoying. It's not a kid-friendly in the sense that there's swears and violence, more violence than say something like Avengers. Avengers would be more geared definitely with the kids in mind, with adult themed stuff happening, but this one definitely has swears and kind of aggression, and starts off with death, and so yeah, something to keep in mind. But I'm looking forward to the day when I can watch it with my kids eventually. My oldest son came downstairs when he was sleeping. That's why I watched half a time, because he came down while I was watching it and sort of sat on the stairs and listened for a little bit. Listened enough to hear Groot talk, which is kind of a neat story element, character in the story of the Talking Tree, which that in itself, it feels like, when I say that out loud, why would you watch a movie about a talking tree? But they do a really great job of, and he only says 3 words, they do a really great job of animating his facial expressions and his sort of mannerisms to, I don't know what the word is, not humanize him necessarily, but to help you engage with this character and care for and laugh and love this character that's basically a tree. So there you go. Link will be in the show notes to the flick on iTunes if you want to check it out if you haven't already. And I think I got to get to work. So I will see you again tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Have a good day. Bye.